Happy Sunday. This is August 23rd, 2020. My name's Tom Yakopin, and this is the Tom Yakopin podcast. We call it Yakopinions. It's been a while. I've taken some time off. I've been a busy beaver in other areas of my life, but it's great to be back. And today we wanted to talk with you a little bit about a topic I think that's quite important, and that is health care in America. Healthcare in America. You know, this year's been a challenging year. It's also been a great year for many of us who had the opportunity to reflect, maybe recalibrate, set goals, determine what things really matter in life. Quite a bit has been shut down during 2020, things that you don't even have the option of doing. So it's been nice to kind of reconnect with family, board games, exercise, reading, nature, whatever, for many people. And I know many of my friends and probably many of yours, that's what we've been doing. One of the things that's dawned on me this year, and that is the importance of healthcare, which, I want to challenge the status quo or maybe what first comes to mind for many Americans when we talk about healthcare, and that is that healthcare really isn't about insurance or Medicare for all or Trump care or a free market. Healthcare really is about taking care of oneself, okay, as best you can. And then when things go beyond the scope of your ability or your authority, right, then we've learned that there are people who specialize, whether in nutrition or chiropractic or the practice of medicine, such as a primary care physician. We've learned that then going to see these people to help solve other more complicated problems, perhaps surgeons and specialists and whatnot, that is the trend, the route that we've taken. But I want to talk about the fundamental of health care today. And I'm going to give you an example about a very serious disease. The CDC, and I'm actually on cdc.gov. CDC actually calls this particular issue a serious and costly disease. And the prevalence of this disease in 2017 and 18, according to the CDC, was 42.4%. And then they have a brief also from the Center for Health Statistics, NCHS, that you can read in PDF form. From 1999 to 2000, this particular disease, the prevalency of it increased from 30.5% to 42.4%. And this is a very serious issue, obviously, that from through the 90s into 2018 has really cost America a great price and its citizens. And conditions related to this disease, and this is where it actually gets very, very complicated. Conditions, in other words, side effects or other related issues that very often become comorbidities, a term we've heard a lot of this year, is heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and then even certain types of cancer. And listen to this, and the estimated annual medical cost of this disease in the United States was $147 billion in 2008. And the disease that we're talking about, this one particular issue is obesity in America, the disease of obesity. And really I think, one of the first things that we as individuals can address with or face off with, really, because in this sense, health care is not the government's responsibility, nor is it really your physician's responsibility. But what I'm learning and what I want to share with you today a little bit is a path that I'm on that has helped me significantly to relearn a better relationship with food and exercise, and really take responsibility for my own health once again. It's very easy to do in America. But, a friend of mine, as we begin, often said to me, Tom, health care begins in the kitchen. Very, very important because, our bodies, it is a fine-tuned machine. And for example, in a better car, a sports car, a performance car, very often they recommend that you burn only super premium fuels, right? Well, if we would do that for a car, how much more if changing what goes in my pie hole, if that can significantly change how I feel or what prescription medications I might need or not need. Man, and if it is as simple as relearning a relationship with food and then the liquids that go in your mouth and then becoming more mobile. What if healthcare, what if we could, imagine this, but what if we could shave that $147 billion? And keep in mind, $1 billion is 1,000 million dollars. But what if we could shave that 147 billion by 20 or 30% and take that savings and put it into various healthcare programs for the underprivileged, or bump up our VA program, or reinvest that into communities for preventive health and education, or maybe even teaching people the value of gardening and eating whole foods. What if something as simple as diet and exercise and teaching people about whole foods versus processed foods, teaching people to refocus on, relearn the discipline of cooking on their own, right? So that they know what ingredients are going in, only the best, the finest, organic, perhaps whatever, rather than depending, right, strictly. That's something that we've learned this year in the United States of America in 2020, because a lot of our options, right, to eat out, they're gone. But one of the things I discovered, wow, is that I'm a good cook. And the other thing that I've discovered is when you buy steak or vegetables fresh at Giant Eagle or Aldi or Shop and Save or wherever you go, you know what's in there, man. And I've got to tell you, it's really kind of refreshed my culinary habits. But going back to diet and exercise, I went to see my physician, Dr. Rebecca Plute of Paragon Personal Healthcare. Highly recommend her. Shout out to Dr. Plute. I went to see her this year, and we did our typical blood work, and had our typical talk. But one of the things that she said to me is, Tom, you broke a record this year, and that record is with your weight. And I want to address that, which this is a good time for me to mention. If you don't have a good relationship with a primary care physician, somebody that you can trust and somebody that has earned the right to speak to you and maybe even call you out on bad habits or challenge you as it relates being proactive in healthcare rather than reactive. Okay. If you don't have that kind of relationship with your primary care physician, I've done or read studies on it. I've studied studies on it, and I can tell you that relationship with a good doctor can mitigate risk, meaning they will nip in the bud issues, and obesity being one of them and many others. And I'm going to tell you kind of where I was at and in the tough conversation that she had with me. But a physician that gets in your face, I would rather face off with monsters when they're little than when they're big. And this is how health care erodes, and why many say in America that really our health care system is more sickness care. We let people go off the cliff, and then we minister to them once they've hit rock bottom, with slash and burn and surgery and so forth. So anyway, I want to encourage you, if you don't have a good relationship with primary care, statistics say that is a huge part of your strategy of your how you're going to manage your care throughout your lifetime. And by the way, that's not somebody else's responsibility. That's my responsibility. It's your responsibility. And so I have this appointment with her, and she says, here's the thing. You're on blood pressure medication. If this trend continues, I'm going to need to up that medication, which she had already doubled previously, maybe 6 months ago. She also said, while your sugar's okay today, you're on the cusp of it getting to the point where we're going to need to introduce oral medication if this trend continues. And then, of course, she mentioned things such as sleep apnea, which I have, right? I sleep with a machine to help me breathe. Well, a lot of that, they say, has to do with the size of your neck, right? And of course, if you're obese and it is harder having sleep apnea because of carrying an extra 20 or 30 pounds or whatever, in other words, she addressed me and said, if you will get your diet and exercise under control and lose 20, 25, 30 pounds, all of these things may self-correct because your body is an amazing, wonderful machine, and it can heal itself if you'll let it. And I want to share with you just how simple it is. And then a shout out also to a chiropractor in Washington who I met as a referral, and that is Dr. Wink at Wink Chiropractic in Washington. My girlfriend, Melissa Thomas' brother, was in a very similar situation to me. A little younger, not as handsome as I. No, I'm kidding, Albert. No, very, great guy, athletic growing up, but started gaining weight, and it was trending to where, in all probability, medication would need to be introduced. And he and his wife began this treatment, if you will, under a chiropractor's supervision. And really, and by the way, it's called ChiroThin. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it seemed to me, once I learned about it, to make a lot of sense. Long story short, with the approval of my family physician, I saw Dr. Wink, and he introduced me to the most simple of all concepts, and that is, Tom, what you eat radically affects your life, okay? And there's no way around this. And the older you get, the more you're going to notice how true what I just said is, okay? So if you want to keep doing what you're doing, you can, but you're going to keep getting the same results. If you want to change it, if in the next 6 weeks, I can show you how to lose 25 to 30 pounds. And I'm thinking, for real, But I saw it in Albert's life. Albert Thomas, Melissa's brother. I literally, on a week-to-week basis, saw this guy basically deflating, okay? And it was so obvious, and here's how simple it is. Number one, intermittent fasting. The ChiroThin plan introduces somewhat of a simple but very stringent intermittent fasting plan where you're encouraged to eat lunch, you're encouraged to eat dinner at reasonable or regular times, and then not eat after that, including snacks. And in my case, I would eat dinner at about 5 o'clock. Therefore, after that, until noon the next day, I was fasting. Okay. And then very simply, for lunch and dinner, you're given a book, and you're told that you can eat 4 ounces of poultry or 4 ounces of meat or 4 ounces of fish, vegetables on this list, 4 ounces, and fruits on this list, 4 ounces. And you're asked to eat these foods from these groups in these balances the same way twice a day. And that's it. And you cut out everything, booze, beer, whatever, and you're allowed to drink iced tea and water, basically, and unsweetened tea. But I thought, man, do you mean, as simple as this is, by simply taking control and then shopping, right, wisely, planning wisely, the meal prep and the time. It's a little bit of a time investment. But I was thinking to myself, are you kidding me that it can be as simple as modifying my behavior It could be as simple as modifying my relationship with food. Are you telling me that in 6 weeks I could lose 25 or more pounds? So long story short, he said, yeah. He said, but you can't cheat. And he said, and if you do, I'll know it, because you're going to see me every week and I'm going to measure you and I'm going to look you in the eye and I'm going to ask you to tell me, are you keeping the plan, you know? And this guy doesn't look like the kind of guy that wants to mess around, because obviously he's doing the plan and he's exercising, you know? So I was thinking, good role model. It's working for Albert. I'm in. Long story short, listen, halfway through the program, I was on blood pressure medication. That was it. Trending toward sugar. But halfway through the program, man, I'm getting lightheaded. I'm losing weight, but I'm getting lightheaded. I call my doc. Hey, doc, you know, I'm feeling like I'm going to pass out on some of these hot summer days that we've been having. And she says, well, check your blood pressure and get back to me. Well, I checked my blood pressure. It was super low, you know. So the first thing she does is go, oops, hey, good sign. Cuts it back in half. Okay, I'm midway through this program. I've probably lost 12 pounds. And you see the progress every day. I mean, every day. Like a pound or so every day, right? And it's so encouraging, but it's also challenging. It is quite challenging. But by the end of the program, I can tell you that we lost about 31 pounds and I forget, like 18 inches between waist and neck and all of that. But the biggest thing is not that. The biggest thing is before I graduated, which was last Tuesday from the program, my doc took me off my blood pressure completely. And it's currently, I'm checking it daily, sending it to her twice a week. And it's like running about 119/66 with no medication. So it's very interesting as we bring this to a close today. A couple of things. Those of you who know me know that I am in the healthcare and financial services business, right? I own West Penn Life and Health. I'm involved with another marketing agency, New Era Health Plans. And it's important to me to stay abreast of both healthcare, okay, and products, financial products, to keep people out of the weeds financially. But what I've learned is this: healthcare is not health insurance. And health insurance is not health care. Health care is what you do. Health care are the choices that you and I make. And then the next line of defense for health care is what your physician or your dentist or your oral surgeon or your nutritionist, or here's another one, your chiropractor. I can tell you this, that I learned a lot from several chiropractors over the last 20 or 30 years. And the chiropractic industry, I think, deserves credit because they are a group of people who attempt to, with their lifestyle and their practice, to teach people to be proactive in caring for their health rather than reactive. You know, so it tends to be more of a health care practice than a sickness care or critical care practice. So, as I bring this to a close, my point in sharing this today is you have way more control over your weight and then over the way you feel than you know. Changing my diet, no medication. I sleep better. It's Sunday afternoon. I've been up since very early today shoveling dirt. Like the amount of energy and strength and vim and vigor that I have back, it's unfreaking believable. And one of the lies that I was telling myself, because it took me like 3.5 years to go from 216 to 250, the lies that you start telling yourself if you're in middle age is, this is what it feels like to get older. And that's what I kept telling you're just getting old. No, I was getting fat, okay? And by turning that around, like I might have, maybe I've added years to my life, okay? Maybe a heart attack that was in my future now, I may not have. And maybe my grandkids get to have me around a little longer and I get to enjoy that time with them and my loved ones and my kids and my purpose on earth. So I want to challenge you to take responsibility as much as you can for your health care. and do everything you can, including diet, including a sound exercise program, limiting adult beverages, alcohol, something that I did. Why? Because I love beer. Okay, got to cut that out. I got to choose the apple rather than the Snickers bar, and the unsweetened tea rather than the beer, right? Okay, you got to do that. And that's not the government's responsibility, baby. That's ours, that's mine, and that's yours. And imagine if we could turn this around through re-education and relearning a better way to eat, growing food, things of that nature, and mitigating risk long term. So, Tom Yakopin, this is my installment called Yakopinions. You can find us online or on Facebook. If you want to hear more about this topic, I'm an advocate for free market health. A great shout out to the Free Market Medical Association, direct primary care physicians nationwide, and honest practitioners, as well as many good friends in the healthcare and financial services business I'm a part of. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye for now.